talking about just 2 months down the line, and it's going to be a brand new year. All of that talk about 2026 is about to be upon us, and all about the elections. And so that's why I try to remind myself why the politicians are getting ready to either lose or win elections, and everybody's racing over the tax law. You have to evaluate yourself and say, okay, do a self-audit. And self-audit, I like to start from time. How you manage your time affects what comes out of your life sometimes. So self-audit is just my little counsel on a Tuesday morning. So do some self-audit and find out exactly how much is in your bank account. I'm looking for a lot of it.
Well, speaking of self-audit, the administration has done that as far as security is concerned. Of course, with the reorganization in the rank and file of the leadership of the military, speaking from about last Friday. And yesterday, Monday, we saw the service chiefs meet with Mr. President, you know, in a move that is projected to boost the morale in the military, encourage professionalism, and hopefully, you know, upgrade the what we call security architecture of the country. But amid all of this, we cannot lose sight of the questions that keep trailing what is sometimes seen as the, and you know, rightfully so, the constant change in the leadership, you know, of the military. Some would say, you know, they have a sacrosanct 2-year tenure, but the president reserves the right, you know, with his executive discretion to change the service chiefs. But does it guarantee stability? In the last decade that we've seen, you know, constant reorganization in the leadership of the military, has it, you know, significantly altered the trajectory of the fight against banditry and terrorism? What would this mean for perhaps a change in operational strategy? Some would say that shouldn't necessarily change, you know, but the strategy there should be an uptick in it with a connect in, you know, supplying of what the military requires to continue in the fight against, you know, banditry and insurgency. And, you know, those are the questions that keep trailing this recent move. So what does it mean ultimately for the fight against banditry and insurgency? Jeffrey?
They met with the president, who is their commander-in-chief, who reserves the right, I think according to Section 130, to make such decision. That some of the persons in the military will argue to the effect that leaving military officers or service chiefs for too long is not good for the system for varying reasons. Even normal security around your area, sometimes they are alternated time and again so that they don't get too familiar. Is it familiar is the right word now? I mean, too comfortable and maybe sometimes ineffective, if you will. That is some of the argument they have. And also to allow other persons who are below them, you know, to come up the ladder of that succession of that military hierarchy. Everybody wants to be this, that, and the other. So there are different layers that we can look at as far as changes are concerned. But for citizens and everyone else who is not in that space, ours is just an improvement in the lives of people in terms of how they're able to sleep and wake up without looking over their shoulders. That is a hallmark of how it's assessed. Now, those in the military space will tell you, or intelligence space will tell you, that how they assess performance could include number of attacks. Has it increased? Has it reduced? Fatalities, has it increased? Has it reduced? Nigerians generally more fearful or less fearful or are not afraid at all? These are some qualitative metrics you can use, if I can use those two words together, to assess performance. And then there is the political argument that also comes with this, that sometimes when we have presidents, not sometimes, a lot of the time when we have presidents, there's always what they call the Barakba arrangement. That moral argument is always a problem. So you have the president, who is from the Southwest, the Minister of Finance, who is from the Southwest, the FIRS, who is from the Southwest. I think the Customs, if I'm correct, is from the Southwest. The CBN Governor is from the Southwest. The IGP is from the Southwest. Now we have Chief of Defense Staff. I don't like including military within this space because there's a way it works, but you cannot take away political conversation. These are the things that Nigerians are saying. But it appears, Bukola, most of the time that every president will choose to do what they want to do. If an Ijaw man like Goodluck was, the president, you gather your Ijaw people at the, at the villa. When a Yoruba man is there, you gather Yoruba people. When an Hausa man. But we need to evolve out of all of this at the end of the day. Sometimes it's not as if there is anything legally wrong, but there's a moral burden. In Section 14 of the Constitution, there's a language I like the Constitution used, Bukola, and I think people should check it out. It's talked about, when it was referring to federal character, it talked about giving people a sense of belonging. That's why we need leaders that have that ability to sense the pulse of the polity. The language of the Constitution is a sense of belonging. It's not like you must, but just do it in such a way that everybody is properly represented. So when Orubibi was shouting, you remember Orubibi in 2015, Nigeria belongs to all of us. Yes, the context may have been funny, but that is the truth. Nigeria belongs to everyone, north, south, and the other. And one of the things I try to put out all the time, especially when I speak to the politicians with the greatest sense of respect, because politicians didn't just fall from the sky, they came from us. And sometimes they lose sight of what democracy is. Sometimes some of them are even lost. They don't even understand democracy. They find it hard to walk around democracy. So when they become presidents or governors or leaders, they have this air of above everybody. No. The sovereignty in a democracy belongs to the people, not to the president. This is not England, where sovereignty could belong to the king or the queen. So let's hope that these service chiefs, this new arrangement, these gentlemen who I'm sure have the professional expertise to do their work, will help us with those qualitative and quantitative metrics, number of attacks, number of fatalities, whether Nigeria is safer or not safer. That's how we assess them, beyond the argument of where you come from.
You could argue that, there seems to be an even distribution when you consider the appointments. Major General Olufemi Oluyede, new Chief of Defense Staff from the Southwest, Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Kelvin Aneke, that should be from the Southeast.
Yeah, of course.
The Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, that should be from the North.
Yeah, I think
I'm not sure if it's from the Northwest or North Central or Northeast. The Chief of Defense Intelligence, Major General Ondiedeye, should be from the South. I believe, Jeffrey, you can confirm that you are from the South.
No, what I was
Chief of Army Staff, Major General Waidi Shaibu.
Yeah. What I was referring to was like the heads. The Chief of Defense Staff the Chief of Army Staff is even, for me, more powerful. It's just that policy head within the hierarchy. Those are the things I was referring to, because I saw the distribution of this new service chief is evenly distributed, at least fairly distributed. I'm just talking about, you see, I was pointing heads.
No, but Jeffrey, even beyond the principle of federal character and fairness is the commitment to, the work. And this is where we remember the former Chief of Defense Staff, who was a fine gentleman, by the way, a gallant officer whose work would be missed at this point in time. He talked about collaboration within the military, within the armed forces, the Navy, the Air Force. So that's what we expect to see with the new service chiefs as they begin work, a synergy in the military. And then we must also remember at this point in time, the counsel provided by the former Chief of Defense Staff under late President Muhammadu Buhari, who talked about the democratically elected officials, providing a connection in the demonstration of a political will, to attend to the welfare of the military. In his reaction to this new reorganization, provide what the military needs. We cannot continue to talk about the trillions of naira committed to defense in this country, and we're still talking about insurgency, banditry, which is moving beyond Nigeria's north and is encroaching into the north central and maybe into the southwest. That leaves a huge question mark on the defense budget, and that's what we really should be talking about. We may say that the polls say Nigeria feels safer, but is that really the reality on ground? Because for me, there seems to be a disconnect between what the polls are saying and what the reality on ground is. Daily, there are reports of attacks of, herders attacking people unprovoked in their farms, raping women, and we've had the stories time and again. So there is a disconnect between, the reorganization, the work on paper, and what is happening in communities where the real challenge of insecurity is.
All right, so just before I let you know, I'm just laughing because it's a laughable. This is why sometimes they don't take Africa seriously. How can Paul Biya, 92-year-old Paul Biya, Cameroon has to do a lot of explaining to Africa. How did they let it happen? I'm not, the sovereignty of their state. Paul Biya has been president, I think, since 1985 or so. The oldest president in the world who can barely walk, is barely coherent in certain instances. He had his own share of health. So you can see him there. That man you're seeing on your screen is 92 years old. He just won re-election for another term. 8 years is going to be in power. That means if God keeps him alive, Paul Biya will be 100 years in 8 years. So I call these ones African democratic kings. While we're talking about Paul Biya, Alassane Ouattara has won his 4th term. He's also it's about 82 or so. What is Africa's obsession with old people? What is the problem with us and old people? We are a young population. So sometimes when I was listening to the radio, somebody was saying when they go to their AU meetings, what do they discuss? What exactly are you talking about? So it's just heartbreaking to see. So the whole of Cameroon could not find, and now there's tension in that country concerning this election. No matter how good you are, that's why we're literally begging people like Paul Kagame, that now that the ovation is high, this idea that you're the wisest man in the land and you will oversee everything for as long as you can doesn't work for Africa. No matter how good you are, you need to excuse yourself. So this is people protesting. The opposition is saying that is not what we wanted. I think he won with about 50-something votes, and then the closest contender won with about 30-something% of the votes. And that's where we are. So you see protests. I think even 4 people have died. Because sometimes people just... So people of my age have not known any other president. So sometimes when we think Nigeria is bad or Nigeria has a challenge, just look at neighboring Cameroon. Because Bukola, how can 92-year-old win an election?
And it's
what in the world
laughable.
Is going on?
It's laughable that even the opposition, presented in Cameroon to Paul Biya is another 76-year-old Issa Chiroma Bakri, who wanted to declare himself, or declared himself winner of the October 12 elections, and said he was going to resist the victory of Paul Biya. So what alternatives really did the opposition present, amid this election? How prepared have the youths in Cameroon been for this election cycle? Or is it a closed space, as is similar to what we have in Nigeria, where the youths talk about exclusion from the process, the monetized electoral process that, makes them unable to participate as effectively as possible, even though we have a not too young to run law in the country. Is it the same? These are questions that run through one's mind when you look at the political space in Cameroon. A 92-year-old president who has been in power since 1982 has won election yet again for an 8th term. A president who has, at most times, Jeffrey, has not been seen in public in the last year or two. And you rightly recalled that when he is seen in public, he's incoherent and is unable to effectively represent Cameroon in the international community. There's a lot of explaining to do, and it would be a conversation that we would like to mainstream here, in a partnership with the Cameroonian media, and understand what exactly is happening. Is the electoral space closed such that young persons are unable to effectively participate? What does the political culture and ethos look like in Cameroon in terms of engagement? Who are members of the civil society that should be speaking truth to power at this point in time? Is this president fit, to take on the political aspirations of the Cameroonians for the next even 2 years, not to talk of 8 years?
You're speaking grammar, I'm sorry. Paul Biya is not fit.
But those are valid questions.
He's old. So this is another one from Cote d'Ivoire. Just look at Alassane Ouattara. 82. I know how the world fought for him as concerning when Laurent Gbagbo refused to, pave way, and then Alassane Ouattara. I don't know. There's this sit-tight syndrome of African leaders, Bukola. Sit-tight syndrome. And I am almost sure that if not for our constitution and our democracy, there are Nigerian politicians who nurse this kind of ambition. They want to stay in perpetuity. They want to change the constitution so that they can stay as long as they want, and they'll continue to give a valid explanation. We could go to Equatorial Guinea. You know what happened in, is it Togo or not? We just go on and on and on. A proliferation of the old guards who can't even take care of themselves properly. Because these men should be with their grandkids.
And that is why you have...
Running a country is not a joke.
You have dissent, you have issues of dissatisfaction, unrest. Look at the protests that have trailed, the re-emergence of Paul Biya in Cameroon. The youths, have taken to the streets. There's destruction of property, and you can just see that they're not happy, with the election results.
It's just a shame, and I will never support a coup, never, ever. I've lived through the military. It's not a good thing. But these are the things that bait such situations. So Africa should do better. I don't know, African Union, they should do better. These are the things they should be raising. Because I don't think the AU speak to themselves. They don't. When they go to a UN, they want to be shouting, give us a seat on the table. What seat? With 92-year-old on the seats. So come and sit on what exactly? Anyway, I'm just pissed. I'm just pissed off this morning.
The governance and economic indicators speak for themselves.
Let's not even go there.
Precisely.
Let's not even go there.
And that's the evidence of why we have military interventions in these countries. Because there are no positive governance indicators to show that indeed the elected, albeit in controversial circumstances, are delivering on the promise of good governance. And so African leaders at the continental level must reflect on all these issues, and speak, honestly to themselves at the table.
Bukola, trust me, they go there some of them go there, some go there to just drink tea and do meetings. They don't even show up. But anyway, we'll talk about that. As you said, we'll mainstream African Democratic Kings as a topic one day on this show.
I like that.
Right. African Democratic Kings. That's what I call it, ADKs. They are now... Anyway.
But that word democratic is debatable.
No, since they were elected, that's why I added democratic. Yeah. Since they didn't just bring themselves, they were elected. So democratic kings, even if it's a paradox.
Even if it's a monarchy.
Okay, let's tell you what we're doing today. The issue around Oworonshoki and the demolition is going to be at the forefront of our conversation today on the program. That has been this back and forth over government and the people within the Oworonshoki area. Is going to be one of the things we'll be talking about today on the program. What exactly is going on as far as the Oworonshoki demolition is concerned and the agitation that ensues by the people?
Yeah, speaking of questions, more seem to be trailing the July 2024 Supreme Court verdict on financial autonomy for local governments, with demands of accountability coming through from the management of funds belonging to local government in Ondo State. The civil society is saying, look, the state executive is dipping its hands into the local government funds and leaving it with just 5 million naira to run its operations. So we're going to be looking at these allegations, examining the veracity and finding out what exactly is happening there.
And of course, that's not all. We're going to be looking at illicit financial flows, tackling money laundering, especially within the real estate sector. We'll bring an expert to break it down for us right here. So that is the outlook of our program today on the program. But we'll be right back in just a moment to bring you the dailies. Adeni Ifetayo joins us all the way from Botswana to help us make sense of what the dailies are reporting. Join us again. All right, let's bring in our guest analyst, Mr. Adeni Ifetayo. Mr. Ifetayo, thank you so much for coming on the program, and good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here virtually.
Mr. Adeni Ifetayo is a public affairs analyst, a publisher of Megastar magazine. Let's get to the New Telegraph newspaper. Mr. Ifetayo is leading with, "I'm being pressured to join the APC," says Moftwang. That's the governor of Plateau State. "I'm being pressured to join APC as Oyebanji emerges ruling party's consensus candidate for Ekiti. Edo APC to suspend commissioner sent out of ESCO meeting for not wearing Ashiwaju's cap." God. Mr. Ifetayo, please. I don't just know what to say.
Anyway, our polity is all about interest. Being pressured to join APC, like my mother used to tell us, my late mom used to tell me that if they ask you to put your hand inside fire, will you put your hand? So the choice is still yours to do. Sometimes our politician, there's no ideology. If I'm for you, I'm for you. If I'm for this, I'm for this. But before you could say Jack Robinson, they have moved to a party that can serve their ambitions. If you know that truly people elected you, they put you there, and you are giving them the dividends of democracy, nobody could pressure you, whether at the top or because you are the chief security officer of that state. And also coming to Oyebanji, of course, we don't expect much because that's what we are used to in this our climate. And of course, wearing Ashiwaju cap is that one that they used to measure governance in Edo State, that if you don't wear cap, of course, because you will notice that sometimes some of these commissioners are starting to be corrected. Their role is just like a compensation. Come there and all of that. You see governors that appoint special advisor, but they don't take advice from such. They just put them there like a figurehead. And they said, "He who pays the piper dictates the tune." It's not just about saying that if you don't wear cap and all of that. And of course, it's people that we vote. It's not just the commissioner all alone. But they should let competence come first before any, whatever signage, whatever symbol to show that to show your allegiance. But it's a case of he who pays the piper dictates the tune. But they should let competence, good governance determines what a commissioner should do, not because of the cap or the attire is going to wear or not.
It's quite interesting. At the end of the day, I know that, I think that a humble man, by the way, I like, if he radiates humility. I'm talking about Monday Okpabala, the senator who now became a governor. But I know he also mentioned the fact that he wants to give, he will give Ashiwaju 2 million votes. I double dare him. He can't. It's not possible.
3.something million.
I would like to come back here and say, "Oh, Your Excellency, I'm sorry I was hasty, but I double dare." He cannot. Yeah. The history of votes and the pattern and the trend doesn't show. So I just see that all those are political statements. Bukola, you have the next one.
Well, it's just overcome with political zeal, particularly after winning the election. But let's go to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Mr. Ifetayo, still on politics, and it focuses on what seems to be brewing in an unending manner in the PDP, the crisis. Chaos in PDP, convention at risk. Well, we already knew that, but I think this comes on the heels of the visit to the national headquarters of the party yesterday by former Jigawa governor, and the riders provide those insights. Lamido vows to sue over denial of access to chairmanship form by party. Turaki submits chairmanship nomination form, and over 20 PDP lawmakers threaten defection over alleged plots to clear APC nominee for national woman leader. So it appears as if it's from fry pan to fire, as we say in Nigerian parlance, as far as the conflicts in the People's Democratic Party is concerned. I wonder if you've been following this. Has the the process leading to the nomination of a consensus candidate for the chairmanship position, had it been transparent and equitable prior to this time? And where is this dispute over the position of the national women leader of the party? Where is it coming from, Mr. Ifetayo?
One of our problems is internal democracy within the party, because if you can attend to Mr. A, an aspirant, Turaki, and another one that wants to get his form, you are saying you can't get it, you need to postpone it. Then that means you are playing a double standard, and you can't build on a shaky foundation. The PDP, they already is in a state of the whole building being collapsed, also to say. But when you want to salvage it, you need to be transparent and you need to be accountable. The same regulation, the same law that give Mr. A access to obtain the form and submit it and all of that. So it's all about voting during their national convention. But if you are using double standard, I don't think they are ready for 2027, so to say, and it's going to make the whole thing. It will make PDP come to its knee because they are not salvaging the remnants that they have. We just read in the review, one of their governors saying he's being pressured to join the APC and all of that. So those are the things they need to address if they really want to put forth a show come 2027. And whatever is good for Mr. A is also good for Mr. B, so to say. But using a double standard, I'm not sure they are ready. If they are ready, they know what to do and to put their house in order and be transparent about it and salvage the remnant so that they can put a good show come 2027.
All right, let's go to the Daily Monitor. The Daily Monitor is leading with these issues around the health sector. Resident doctors list 19 demands to avert indefinite strike. I think they're supposed to be back on that strike on November the 1st or so. It says government currently owes doctors, other health workers, an estimated 38 billion in accumulated allowances. Mr. Ifetayo, when I always like it to be summarized to the numbers so that we'll be able to look at, okay, what is that 39 billion naira? Did I say dollars? 39 billion naira to Nigerian government that this cannot be resolved? Or is there something else we do not know that may affect our fair assessment of the situation? Because if key players in the health sector, they are the largest in terms of the population of doctors, I stand to be corrected, these resident doctors, they are all over the place, before they emerge to become consultants and specialists. This is like the bottom of it, where they reach out to a lot more patients, and they carry a lot of the workload as far as hospital management, whether in the public or private sector, is concerned. And so if they leave if they down tool, we already know the implication of that. Why should we allow 39 billion naira stop or allow this to happen? I want you to just posit it properly for us.
Yes, first and foremost, is a sector that to the government, maybe they are not generating any funds. So where there's no money compared to when it comes to, for example, let's say oil and gas, so to say, or marine, whatever it is. So you can see that they don't pay more attention. It's just like in education sector. Just to digress a little bit, that lecturer wants to go on strike, and the same thing. I've been talking about this thing year after years after years. I don't know, 38 billion, it might sound so humongous, but it's not something that government cannot do, even if it is in installment. Like the resident doctor said that they have about 19 demand. You can say in the next 2 years, we are going to clear off maybe 10, to show a good faith that, yes, we listen, we want to resolve this issue because you are critical, your service is needed. So that to shun, now they talk about brain drain in the health sector because our doctor, they are going abroad, for greener pasture. You must make the sector look inviting, their incentive, their allowances, because they also have family to take care of. Not that they will get to filling station or to the school of their children and say, please, oh, they've not pay us our allowances, so we're not going to pay, or you wait until, those things are not there. Those are the things that I thought that government could tackle once and for all. And you can even beat yourself and say, since my company will clear the backlog of this ministry, of this sector, and there's nothing like we're owing one, it's even an opportunity for them, like a campaign. So do you think this resident doctor or their family, when they are grumbling at home, they are going to cast their vote for such president comes 2027? Those are the indices that they need to look at. Those are the critical sector they need to look at. That, like the Bible says, that their affliction will not rise the second time. But in Nigeria, it kept on coming up, not fourth time, not fifth time. I just wish they will do what is needful and give them their entitlement, even if you cannot meet all. At least show a concern. Out of 19, we are taking care of 4 in the next 2 years. And to start with, we are going to clear these 2 allowances or 3 allowances to show that we mean business, but not just talk and no action to it.
Indeed. While the politicking is going on, there's so many other issues that seem to be left unattended to. Besides that of the doctors, there's this one also coming from the aviation sector, as the Guardian reports to us this morning. Take a look at it. Nigerian international travelers to pay extra $11.5 charge per ticket from December 1. We understand that this is a security levy that is supposed to shore up the revenue of the NCAA to about $48 million annually. But the figures also tell some story on the front page of The Guardian this morning. Passenger movements in 2024 from boarding pass records, it's put at 4.13 million. And for international flights, 30 international airlines operated in Nigeria in 2024. And, we have a cumulative 14,359. Is this a competitive number as against, what happens in the aviation sector of even other African countries? Let's not even go to international tourist destinations like the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and the likes. In other African countries, is this a competitive number? And what does this increase in levy mean for Nigerian travelers who are already overburdened with high cost of tickets?
I think our government stand to be corrected. They are not sensitive just because you are looking for funds to shop. This issue of security is not a matter of government, in as much other critical stakeholders, they need to come together. And if you're saying because of NCA, they need to, NCC, whatever it is, that they need to shop off whatever their revenue, so those are the things, those are the critical things that the government needs to do. Those are the things that the government needs to provide. A burden, international travelers with $11.5 per ticket is ridiculous, because what are the things that they are putting in place that justify these increase in charges they want to add to Nigerian travelers or international travelers, so to say. What I think they need to do, in as much as aviation sector is a very critical to our economy, I think they should give a kind of incentive, even to those airline or NCCA, whatever it is they are, that is in charge of the sector, that is in charge of providing whether radar or whatever equipment it is. Those are the function of government, and those are the things they need to do, so that it will also attract foreign investors. Not that people have struggled, they want to go and study, they want to go for training, and you still want to, burden them with extra charges. And of course, it's uncalled for. To me, it's uncalled for. They can do better than what they are doing, and in the name of they are looking for fund or to meet their whatever operations in that sector. They can do better. Not that to burden Nigeria or international travelers, so to say. They should make the sector attractive so that they can as well bring in more, what do I say, more investors. You know, they should be investor friendly, they should be passengers friendly, not that to be putting much burden on them.
Mr. Adeni Fetayo, thank you so much for your expertise and bringing to bear, explaining to us what the dailies are leading with. So Nigerians can pick up any of the dailies, the pages that are relevant to some of the stories we've highlighted, and get a proper read for yourself and make up your mind exactly what it is that you can deduce from the dailies. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will be switching gears now to talk about this Oworonshoki demolition and the back and forth between government and the residents of that area. Join us again.
Welcome back. So the people of Oworonshoki have continued to bemoan their losses following the demolition of their structures since about 2023. There was only a temporary, suspension of demolition activities, after which, the demolitions resumed again in September 2025. And so they've continued to count losses in investment in property and businesses. And of course, there's also a displacement element to it. There was also another demolition in the last 48 hours or 72 hours on Saturday night, which was reportedly done in a seemingly Gestapo manner, with security deployed to the area to prevent the demolition activities from being carried out. And amid this, there were about 70 houses or more, according to reports, that were demolished. So let's find out exactly what transpired. Was there a court order preventing this round of demolitions, according to reports? And what is the state of mind of the residents of Oworonshoki? Joining us to have this conversation this morning is Mr. Kamorudeen Badiwa, an Oworonshoki resident. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Badiwa, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, ma'am.
We understand that you're one of the chairmen of the communities in Oworonshoki.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Were you present on Saturday during this latest round of demolition? And tell us what you saw.
Exactly, I was around. In fact, I was already sleeping around 11 p.m. in the night when my son came in to wake me up that something is happening in our area, that they were about to demolish. So when I got out, I saw a policeman in front of my house say, "Baba, go out, get out, get out, get out." I said, "Yeah." In fact, I was panicking. When I got out, I wanted to go back inside. He said, "No, you cannot enter again." He drove me away. That's how. So I was trying to explain to him, let me pick my phone and some other items. He said, no, it's too late, you cannot go. So I was outside when they were demolishing everywhere, when they demolished my house.
What about your family members?
In fact, the first demolition, I've sent them away. So we are only 2 left in the house. So, because I cannot just leave that place. My wife and my grandchildren, they were squatting somewhere because they cannot continue facing the hardship. But I can. So I was sleeping there every day, every night with my son. So that night, we thought they stopped demolition because we went to court and an injunction was given to them. So we thought that now we
was this injunction served on the Lagos State government?
Exactly. Yes, it's served.
So who acknowledged receipt of this injunction?
This is a copy of the acknowledged and duly received.
By which official of the Lagos State government?
Auntie of, please can you
Okay, but it is signed.
Yes, signed.
Representatives of your community.
Yes.
Took this to the State Ministry of Physical Planning, I believe.
Yes.
And urban
In fact,
development.
when we got the plan, everything was displayed on the wall with the court case and the injunction and the date was displayed on the wall with a copy of this pasted on the wall, so that if any officer or any official comes around, they will be able to see it, that there's an injunction on the properties.
So which date is on this
on the 23rd
of October?
Of October, yes.
Okay, so after the last round of demolitions, which took place in September,
yes,
what was the nature of engagements that you had with the Lagos state government? Were there a presentation of valid land ownership documents, certificates of occupancies to the state government? And what was the response to that? Was there any promise that they were going to stay action on demolitions?
After the first demolition, we wrote petition to Lagos State Governor, the House of Assembly, and all other organs of Lagos State. So we were invited to Lagos State House of Assembly, where they discussed with us. We were told, in fact, all the commissioners were there. The commissioners of a waterfront came there, though he said he was not invited into the meeting. That when he got to the house, that he heard that Oworo people were already in the house, and he said he's so interested in the case, so he joined the meeting. So he was the first person to talk. He said that this type of experience has happened in Lagos before. That when they were living on Lagos Island, when they want to decongest Lagos, that the government then decided to relocate them, that they built houses for them as rulery, completed the building, furnished it, then moved every family to the area. Then before they started demolishing, that's this type of demolition that happened in Oworonshoki. He has never seen that one before, where they will come and demolish houses by 1 a.m. in the morning, when all the residents were fast asleep. Said, as the commissioner of waterfront, he has no knowledge of it. Others, Kabesi was invited to, he was there. Kabesi Oloworo said to, he has no knowledge that he has no hand in the demolition. It was one Oki, I think the head of lands, that said all the houses there, they were not, they don't have any approval. Whereas this Oki, when we first of all received the first notice on our door, that was around March 25 of this year, we took the paper to Ogudu, to Sheye, who led the team. He said it's from their headquarters. So we went to their headquarters at GRA. That is opposite of LSDP, something, in GRA. We met Oki. Oki read the paper. He said, no, they have no knowledge of that paper. Then he called Sheye on phone. That Sheye, what is happening in Oworo? And he said, let me come and see you, sir. So he said, how can you, are you going to wait me? I have somewhere to go. I cannot wait for you. Tell me what happened now. Now Sheye said it was the Kabesi, Oloworo, that gave them order.
To demolish.
To demolish, yes.
And so many Oworo residents have been calling out the, the monarch in Oworo for being complicit
in fact,
in this round of demolitions.
Yes, in fact.
Is that true? Can you confirm that that's the role that he's been playing, giving the orders for demolition? Yes,
let me even complete my statement concerning Oki.
Okay.
Oki advised us to go and meet our Kabiyesi and appease him. So when we came back, each building contributed 10,000 naira. We bought goods more than 400,000 naira, took it to the Kabiyesi.
Goods?
Yes, goods.
When you say goods, what type of goods?
Soft drink, water, wine, gin, and all of that things, worth 400,000 naira. We took it to the Kabiyesi. He received it with his wife. They were very happy. Said, yes, auxiliary people, what I would advise you to do, go and perfect the paper of your building and make sure it is nice in looking. So I would like, what would the Oki advise us? We thought he has forgiven us. So we came back, started clearing the area. Those who put pallet container on the road, we started clearing it. We cleared everything until after 3 months later, we saw another paper, demolition paper. So that was, we are so confused, we don't know what to do again. They started demolishing.
So even after the appeasement? After the
appease.
And the gifts that you presented, it didn't make any difference?
No difference. Yes.
So I want you to conclude on that meeting that you had with the government, that you said the Commissioner of Waterfront was present.
Yes, sir.
And he expressed reservations about the nature of demolitions.
Yes, sir.
What was the resolution that was reached at that meeting? Well, was there any assurance from government that there would be no continuation of demolition?
The house was, the place was so rowdy at the end that there was no any concrete conclusion. There was no any agreement reached upon. What they were saying is that they will build a 2-bedroom house for each family. That they will give each family 2-bedroom house.
Which government official stated this position of government?
They were unanimously, in fact, our representative in the house, that is Okla, was saying that they will give each house 2-bedroom flat. So we are thinking that they were making arrangement to perfect that before any further demolition. Because we cannot just throw us into this on the street. If you go to Auxiliary Street now, you still see people sleeping on the street. Elderly people, because they have nowhere to go. You see, they just put a small canopy and they were sleeping there till today, this morning. That's about 3 days ago now.
So since Saturday, have you done a count? How many houses have been affected?
There were about 70 plus. 70 houses plus. Concrete house. Even if you go there till today, there are some story building that they cannot break the decking because how solid it is. You still see them standing there.
But the position expressed by the state government amid these demolitions is that there's nothing political about it. It is, for urban renewal because some structures in Oworo are, physically, deficit, and some of them, breach environmental rules. Is that the case? Can you confirm to us that some of your structures are in the right of way and, of course, they breach environmental rules?
In fact, none affecting our area.
Your own area?
Yes, none at all.
But you can't speak for other areas in Oworo because Oworo is big.
It's big. If on the jetty side area, they were referring to all the enchanties and something in the jetty side area. That's the reference. That's very close to the lagoon. So in our own area, we are facing the third mainland bridge here. So there's nothing. We are not blocking the drainage. We are not there's no chance. All of our buildings were so strong. There were structures blocked. So there's no chance in our area.
So these demolitions began in 2023, am I correct?
Yes, that is on the jetty side area.
So since 2023, when the demolitions began, do you have any information to confirm or refute whether the state government has given compensation, as has been promised, to those affected in this ongoing demolition exercise?
There was no any, since that time, there was no any arrangement. In fact, we felt we are not concerned because we are not even consulted. We are not even making any arrangement to meet us. We did not have any discussion because we are not affected. We are not very close to where they demolished then. We are not very close to where they demolished. So there was no, until after this demolition, that we had that they should come and obtain one form. What we had first of all is that the lands will come and verify each landlord.
Go on, sir.
They will come and verify each landlord on their plot of land, that they should come there with their papers, with whether it's a surveying plan, and then the receipt of that they should come with it. They should stay in the front of their building, that they come and enumerate them. Okay, suddenly there was a change, that they said the meeting would take place at Oba Palace. I went there. So people refused to go. There were only about 5 that was in that meeting.
When did this meeting take place?
At Oba Palace.
When?
That was about 3 weeks ago. About 3 weeks ago.
That was before the demolition.
Before the demolition. Before the second demolition. Before the second demolition, that they will come and verify those that they've demolished before, and those that they've marked, they should stay in the front of their buildings. Then they will enumerate them. Then they will now give them form to complete. So people refuse to go to Oba Palace. The form given was not even from Lagos State. It only has a logo of Lagos State and stamped by the CDC. So in that form, we did not participate in that exercise because they did not come to our land. They said, I asked the officer, one Olarewaju, that how possible will you be able to enumerate people when you don't meet them on their land? That they should come to one. He said they will make arrangement in one hall, that the CDA and the CDC will identify their people. But what about a double crossing? Suppose if we are human beings, the CDC, the CDA can change some people. So why not meet people on their land? He said, okay. You know, they just rubbished that system and went away.
So if I get you correctly, so
yes,
let's put everything and layer it properly. The government is saying the demolition is because of a couple of reasons. People building on wrong places. Wrong places vary from how far is it from water, whether it's on a channel, the proximity of it from the channels to where they're building, issues around shanties. But you're saying these are normal buildings and all of that.
We are not very close to canal. There's no shanty in our area. We are
Ojileru area.
Ojileru area.
But have they demolished your area?
That's completely. Ojileru.
So that's why we brought you to try and understand. If government is saying this,
yes,
and you're saying that, somebody is definitely not saying the truth.
Well, the fact is there. This fact will speak for itself. If you can send your crew to that place and verify all this what they are saying,
no,
they will know that they were lying.
Our reporters have been there as well.
They will know that government is not saying the truth. They just want to grab our land. Government is not saying the truth.
They want to grab your land to do what with it?
I don't know. At least if government wants to use our land, there will be a purpose for it, for the benefit of masses, more than those people who live in there. If it's for the generality of the population, the government will explain, then they will make normal arrangement. Not that they will come to our area by 1 a.m. in the midnight. Where do they want to send us to?
So let's talk about numbers now. From what you know, I don't know whether you have the numbers. How many houses are affected? How many landlords, maybe that's the right way to put it, and have affected by this demolition exercise?
If my estimation may not be correct.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, from what you know.
From about 70 and above. This last demolition, we recorded there too. A baby died instantly when the fire tear gas. It landed in front of the baby. She inhaled it and died.
Have you reported that to the police?
The police were there.
No, but at least you need to make an official report.
An official statement.
You need to make an official report. That
till today, we are in disarray. Our brains are not functioning well.
So what would you want?
We've gone to the court. We hoped a court is the last savior of the masses. The court has granted us injunction Then what do they want from us?
What did you seek from the court? What were you asking the court to do for you?
First of all, is that they should stop demolition in the area, and that those areas demolished, there should be no any activity or selling it to anybody, that it should remain like that.
So you talked earlier about the government's position that it would provide 2-bedroom flat compensation to each family affected. I wonder if that covers the entire residents affected in the ongoing demolition from last year. I don't know if that is the case, but is that satisfactory to those of you who have been affected in Ojileru area of Yanowuru?
That is when the argument started. In fact, it was not officially pronounced in that meeting because the meeting was not conclusive. I mean, at the House, the meeting we had in the House of Assembly, it was not conclusive because they could not even say categorically. What they were saying is that they will go and beg the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, to compensate us. They will go and beg.
So there's no commitment yet?
There was no commitment there. They said they will go and beg the governor to compensate us.
So even those affected in last month's demolition,
yes,
have not received compensation?
No, nothing.
But
nothing.
I read somewhere where they said that they'll be paying compensation to those in the Koka and Ojulari area. Then there's a fresh demolition amidst that. So, because it's all over the place that government has started paying some compensation. Or is it that it hasn't got into the Ojulari area?
The government is not saying the truth. Or those who are making...
Or what if those compensations are being paid and you are not aware?
That's the question.
I'm aware that some people were paid 300,000, 500,000. Depends on the category. And those who are with a plank building, shanties along the riverine area.
I paid how much?
300,000.
Okay.
500,000. Depends on the category.
So those with proper, block?
No, not block.
I'm saying, have they gotten to the people that
have block or something? They did not.
300,000?
Yes.
They say those ones are for shanties and...
yes. There's a video. There's a video. There's a video of that Olariwaju presenting the check in the palace. It was one of the night. Presenting the check, calling the names of those who are the beneficiaries. None from our area, and it's from far away. And there was an allegation that those people that got that check, they were not living in the area. That they are just proxy. They are not the beneficiary.
So that will put proper. Because sorry.
Yeah.
The is it landlords association or? I'm sure there's an association.
I am the chairman of Ojileru Landlord Association.
That's in the Ojileru area, not the Koka area.
Not Koka area. So, Koka area is far away. It's more than 2 or 3 kilometers away from Ojileru.
So the Ojileru area said nothing has been done.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Because we're putting you on record. Because we're going to respond as well.
I can't even say it before the governor. Nothing at all.
So what assurances are you getting from government? Because there are some places that the demolitions have not got to. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So what assurances are you getting from government that those areas will not be demolished?
No any assurance. No assurance from me. Even till today, none of the government of here has spoken to us at all. Till today, we have not seen anybody coming to our area to talk to us concerning our plight.
So your worry is that the demolitions will eventually get to other areas?
What we read on the paper is that they will demolish about 33 streets in Oworonshoki. In fact, Kabesi said that all the buildings in Oworonshoki are substandard. In the whole entire Oworonshoki.
That is the position of the Kabiyesi.
Kabiyesi, yes.
Of course, perhaps we could get representatives of the Kabiyesi, that's the Oloworo.
Exactly. Yes, Oloworo, yes.
To come and speak to some of these allegations that have been leveled against him.
Yes, what I said.
There have been videos online where residents, have called him out for being complicit, for compromising in these demolitions, and would like a representative of the Kabiyesi to come and, either debunk, these allegations, deny or confirm them. Such that the conversation is not one-sided. So what is the landlord association that have been affected, what is the resolve of your associations or association in Ojileru area to do now? What's your next line of action?
We'll still go back to court. We'll contact our lawyer that after the injunction, what next can we do? Because we don't know where to go next. Because we think that the appropriate place for us to go is the court. And getting there, if they disobey the court order, then we don't know where to go next.
So how many, you've said earlier that there are some people who are still sleeping in the open on the streets.
Till today,
Talk to us about the state of displacement in Yanowuru right now. How many people are likely displaced, cumulatively since September? What does Yanowuru look like right now?
The population of that my area, let me tell you how populated the area is. On my street alone, we have 3 polling booths. And each polling booth at least about 200 voters must be on that area. We have 3 polling booths. That is the adult 18 and above. So what about the children? In fact, the most painful thing is that they displaced my grandchildren. They were schooling in Oworonshoki. If you move them away now, they will be demoralized completely. Because anywhere you take them to, they will be very stranger and it will affect them psychologically. And all other children like that. I saw one boy yesterday. I asked him, you did not go to school. He said they've demolished their school. What will happen to that? What will happen to him? Where's his future?
Well, we hope that the government would, because we've been on this conversation around the world, Bukola, for a while now. There is the argument of who is right, who is not right, what is wrong. So for the cases that are in court, we will leave the court to make the decision. But we had to bring you in so that the government can hear your own side of the story and the public as well can hear your own side of the story. But what we usually do, what we hear from you, we also bring the government or their representatives to come and say, okay, these are some of the things that the residents of Oworonshoki, like Ojulari, you are the chairman of the area. As far as the landlords are concerned. So these concerns have been raised now publicly. I don't think it's anything hidden. It's just that we are expanding the conversation.
At least they will be able to highlight the provision they've made for us before demolition. At least if they come here, they'll tell you, maybe they provided this place for us to resettle us, or the provision they've made for us.
Have they made any promise at all?
We did not see any of them, any of the officials.
No. Have they made any promise to say, okay, there are 2 things government would likely do. One is, ab initio, you were wrong to have been here. So that is not our responsibility. You should have done your homework before coming here to build. And they may not do anything about that. There could be that, okay, because to have a human face, we need this for public good or whatever it is. That will move you. That's what I mean by conversation.
No, none at all. No.
Besides, of course, what you told us
besides,
earlier,
no. They've never invited
a proposition for 2-bedroom flat.
That was just rumored by one of them.
Okay.
Not that, I told you that the meeting was not conclusive.
Okay.
But, at the house, it was not conclusive.
But can you confirm to us as we wind down now that all landlords association, at least within your jurisdiction in Ojileru area, have valid title deeds and certificates of occupancy?
Many of us have a certificate of occupancy, valid paper, but majority, many of the settlers, They were there more than 50 years ago.
In Ojileru?
In Ojileru, yes. More than 50 years ago. Let me tell you, I was here in 1986. When I was making the foundation, I bought a bag of cement at the rate of 20 naira. I told Kadbesi Wema and his father that when he was talking about compensation, that when I was making foundation, I bought a bag of cement at the rate of 20 naira. That now a bag is about 10,500 naira. What would be the adequate compensation for us? He just rubbish that one up. No response to that.
And that's a very valid question and
yes.
a good place to anchor. We do empathize with you, sir, and indeed with the entire residents of Oworonshoki amid these demolitions. We hope the Lagos State government would, provide an explanation as to what the direction of the demolitions would be and what compensation would be for those who have been affected and as a result been displaced, those who have been there, for nearly 40 years or more, as you have said. Mr. Kamoruddin Badewa is an Oworonshoki resident and the President Landlord Association Chairman Landlord Association of Ojileru area in Oworonshoki. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
for your time to bring us up to speed on what's happening in Oworonshoki.
Thank you.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll continue with the next leg of our conversation on the program. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Let's talk about money laundering or alleged money laundering that has been said to plague the real estate sector. They call it illicit financial flow as a broad name to description of how public officials perhaps siphon money and use it for all sorts of means and try to hide it. I'm just trying to be as lay as possible, but we're going to get a bit of sophistry from the expert as to how this plays out. And the AFCC, the ICPC, all of these anti-graft agencies are being at the top of their voice. So what is happening with our commonwealth and our common patrimony and what certain people who are responsible for managing it are doing with it. And so the EFCC has made some recoveries recently, billions of naira, millions of dollars, property recoveries and all of that. We can also go to the ICPC. As a matter of fact, at the time the chairman of the ICPC raised concern over how public officials now use real estate to launder money or wash money such that it's difficult to trace. Well, the people who understand the dynamics of all of this, joining us today is the executive director, Mr. Yakub. Yes, Mr. Dr. Umar Yakub is the Executive Director, Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity, joins us virtually. Dr. Yakub, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
One of the things I would like you to help us do first and foremost, before we go to certain nitty-gritty, is to help us do an overview of the illicit financial flows that happen in Nigeria, positing it around the real estate sector. Because there was a time I saw a viral video of how somebody has been laying claim to such things happening in Nigeria, and it's quite prevalent. But some players in the sector countered that argument, so there was a back and forth. I'm not an expert in real estate, but you help us break it down for us. Let's allow you do it.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. Good morning, Geoffrey. Usually what happens is countries have different problems. And in Nigeria, our major problem is public sector corruption with regards to before you related to money laundering. Public sector corruption is usually driven by a lot of monies being taken from the public sector at the federal, state, and local government. Now, when you take monies, usually you have to launder it because you can't just legitimately just place it anywhere. There are different checks within the system, so that makes it difficult to invest in those sectors. So when you look at all the research all over the world, actually not only Nigeria, one area that happens to be an industry that can take huge amounts of money in terms of billions of naira now in the Nigerian context is the real estate sector. Because if you drop it in the bank, it will be easily faced. Or some people, what they do now, they change it to foreign currency, usually the United States dollars, they keep it at home or something. But you see, the real estate sector is somewhere that can absorb trillions of naira. So that is why it is a very high-risk area. And when you look at several typology studies, several research, in fact, all over the world, there are actually countries that are called tax havens, but you find out they're really in the real estate sector, the people go to buy and buy. You see, it's not really an investment, but it's you kind of lock up your capital because you are sure that your monies are there, and anytime you need it, you can just go and dispose of that property and get your monies back. So that is why the sector is highly attractive. So what do we need to do? You have the what they call the Financial Action Task Force, which is just an intergovernmental body that sets international standards to combat money laundering. So what they do is they set standards, about 40 of them across all countries for countries to comply with, and that includes putting measures within your own domestic jurisdiction to ensure that money laundering does not exist within that sector, including the real estate sector. So, but this is happening. It's true. It's happening. For example, for those of us that live in Abuja, I see in the last 2 years we have just seen this high explosion of real estate in Abuja. I'm not too sure about Lagos, but I assume it's likely the same.
So you talked about, this being linked to public sector corruption, and that's a very broad concept. When I say concept now, it's for want of better description, but it covers a number of government processes. So help us understand those financial processes that are loopholes for the siphoning of these funds and how it happens.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the major one is actually procurement fraud. When you have, for example, now 1 trillion naira budget in a year, where about 400 billion, will go to capital expenditure. And when you say capital expenditure, you are buying things. When you are buying those things, you are talking about procurement. So you find out the data from our own research at the center, from others from the EFCC, they'll tell you largely all their investigations, by 80 to 90%, stems from procurement fraud, where the government at the federal level or the governor or the local government chairman issues contracts. So this is where the kickbacks take place, where the bribery takes place, and all the returns take place. And don't forget that there's the issue of inflation of contracts. So this is where it takes place. That's why you see governors bid votes every time they're that the high range of kickbacks. So now, once these monies come from public procurement fraud, you find out the next thing they need to do is what to do with the money. So one, sometimes the enabler, the financial sector, which is the banks or the BDCs, they pour in billions there or whatever they have taken out of the country. Now, there are measures to take place to stop those things from happening, but it's not happening enough because even last year, the last report on illicit financial flows is Nigeria is still bleeding about $15 billion a year, which is the highest in Africa. Highest. So domestically now, when you can't, sometimes when you can't take it out, you now give it in your country. So in your country, where do you put it in? You find that it's only the real estate sector that can absorb that. So it's public sector corruption, but to the nitty-gritty, 80% at least, if you take the summary of all the research, you find out is from public procurement fraud, taking place at the federal and subnational level, where driven by all this political class, where they now go and invest it, quote and unquote, in the real estate sector.
So, one of the things I really like you to help us break down is the effects of, in terms of scale. I know that the EFCC, for instance, and the ICPC have given us some numbers. What they do most of the time is give us numbers, tell us arrest and conviction. But from your own assessment within the sector you play in, which is this sector, do you think that we have sufficient, maybe let me put it differently, perhaps we have the laws, but let's talk about implementation. Do you think implementation is strong enough to deter people? Because the reason why this conversation is important, government comes up with a spending limit every year. The executive presents this spending limit in the name of an appropriation bill or budget and presents it to the National Assembly. The National Assembly goes through the bill and approves it, maybe add or remove whatever it is they do, and then they're expected to spend that money. And within that, we have the revenue, expenditure, and then some of the shortfalls that borrowing may be a way to mark it up. So this is public money. But at the end of the day, sometimes when you look at the amount that has been earmarked versus what has been released and then what is on ground, you're asking yourself, what exactly is going on? So is it that our laws are not sufficient to hold the powerful to account, or there's complexity across board? What do you make of it?
Yeah, what we like to share away from is that we're not looking at the enablers. Our laws are actually robust. Even when the FATF, Financial Action Task Force, through the Intergovernmental Action Group against Money Laundering, which is the regional body that assesses Nigeria and West Africa, our laws are robust, actually much better than those in some countries in Europe. So we don't have a legal framework problem. Also, we don't have an institutional framework problem in the sense that we have institutions to execute all these things. You have the EFCC, you have the ICPC, you have the Code of Conduct Rule. But the problem comes from not the anti-corruption agencies or the law enforcement agencies. They have their own problems, but they are minute. We don't look at two things. One, the enablers of this mass corruption. Two, the preventive mechanisms. Now, the major enabler in our context today, for May 2025, is the INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission, because that body has responsibility for political party regulation and political party financing. So when you don't perform your regulatory role in ensuring that political parties adhere to your own laws in terms of where they source their funding from to finance their elections, to maintain their structures, that is what is putting so much pressure on the system. So when INEC fails in that regulatory function, because all they are doing in INEC in the last 15, 20 years is to conduct elections, but they are not really regulating the political parties. So they unleash this set of political class on the system. That is why all the scavenging for contracts is everywhere. People are just taking. So the next layer are the preventive organizations. Now, the preventive institutions are Bureau of Public Procurement at the federal level, the state bureaus of public procurement at the state level, because they take care of states and local governments. At the federal level, there's even some semblance of, of effectiveness. At least they have some online website where they publish all these contract details. At state level, it's nearly near non-existent. They used to have it when they were borrowing money from the World Bank, and that was a precondition for borrowing money. Now that the SafePass has gone, the World Bank program has ended, you find that the governors are just procuring how they want to procure. So when your procurement system fails, when INEC has failed in the first instance, then the procurement system fails or is weak. That's the second layer. Then the third layer is you can't take $1 billion naira just out of this country, or 2 billion. It's just not easy. You need a vehicle to move it. So two ways, through the financial institutions, one, or through the BDCs. Now, these are two areas that are under the purview of the Central Bank of Nigeria. So the Central Bank of Nigeria also has a preventive role of money laundering and illicit financial flows in blocking all this from going on. So, but when does it hear any bank MD penalized or any bank has...
Mr. Yakubu, my apologies. That's exactly the point. With all this framework, because if you look at the framework and look at the sequence of what it takes to be able to move money around, it should naturally be difficult. But it's easy for these public officials to do these things. You've talked about INEC. We can even have the Code of Conduct Bureau where these things are declared. We've had screenings across board. People are, quote unquote, are properly supposed to be investigated to know where they are coming in and when they are leaving, what they are getting out with. But these things still happen.
Yeah, and if you look at about 2 weeks ago, the EFCC released a report that they have recovered $500 billion in 2 years. Now that should scare anybody. How does 500 billion naira leak within a system? That's why I'm telling you, it is the regulators, those that are supposed to prevent that leakage, they are not doing what they are supposed to do. And that is the role of public procurement is very important here, even though I think they're thinking of now. The Central Bank of Nigeria is very important. These are the enablers, primary institutions that if they do their work, you'll not be hearing all these high figures flying here and there. Now, but what we tend to focus on is on recovery. And that is why EFCC 500 billion in 2 years, ICPC so some tens of billions in 2 years.
All right. And it's recovery that I want you to speak to now, and I want to put it in context. Last year, the EFCC, recovered the massive estate in Lokogoma that was said to be linked to a former CBN governor, and that spoke to perhaps what was going on in the real estate sector. But prior to that time, there were hushed conversations in the federal capital about massive expanse of estates that are unoccupied and are probably, products of money laundering. So is the December recovery of the Lokogoma estates linked to the former CBN governor, was it circumstantial? And I ask that to say, why, prior to that time, had the EFCC not looked sufficiently in that space? And is it doing that even now that, we have seen that one individual could have amassed, that kind of number of houses under one name?
Yeah, you're very right. It is actually circumstantial. That is why all the information we have in the public space now stems from the anti-corruption agencies, the law enforcement. Now, where was the Code of Conduct Bureau that is responsible for having details of all assets of public officers as they get into office, or while they're in office, and as they're leaving office, that those houses ought to have been declared somewhere within the Code of Conduct Bureau, but that did not happen until investigation that led to one particular individual that's brought out these details. So that's why I'm saying the focus should now be on those regulatory agencies. They are the ones that are the weak links in the system that is allowing so much bleeding. Even in Abuja here now, take a drive across anywhere, any district, you see all the houses springing up. Now you don't have any legitimate, even illegitimate business in Nigeria that you make so much profit to remove, let's say, R1 billion to buy a plot of land. And right now they are selling land for up to R1 billion. So the only area that is bringing up that kind of money is public sector corruption, and it's usually gotten through procurement fraud.
So let's talk about, the regulatory aspect of it. You've talked a lot about public sector corruption being the source of siphoning of these funds. What's the role of the NFIU here in checking this as much as possible? And the other regulatory actors in the space as well, the Bureau for Public Procurement. Isn't there an element that provides for authentication of claims of contractors, of government agencies, such that if, costs of projects have been, shored up in a manner that is questionable, those people, it can be checked from that point. And as a matter of fact, those who are, fronts for government officials who want to secure contracts can also be fished out, and that process can be checked.
Yes, you are right again. The anti-corruption ecosystem and the anti-money laundering ecosystem has a lot of agencies where each one has to play its own role. What the NFIU, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, plays here, all they do is to receive information from the operators, one from the financial sector, that is the banks, the BDCs, and others. Then from the designated non-financial sector, where you have the lawyers, you have the accountants, and you have the real estate sector players. Now, you have now regulators again. Right here, you have the central bank on one side for the financial sector, then you have the special control unit, which is money laundering for the non-financial sector, for the non-financial sector. Now, these two supervisory agencies are supposed to get information from all these dealings, all these businesses, and send to the NFIU, who will now process such information and see if there's element of money laundering or corruption or fraud or any predicate offense, and sent to the anti-corruption agency now. So the NFIU plays a central role of collecting information, analyzing it, and disseminating it to the anti-corruption agency. So that's the only role they can play. But they can't really do much if your sector regulators are not doing their work. Then in this context, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Special Control Unit against money laundering. If you see all this real estate you are seeing across Nigeria now, it's first within the purview of
Dr. Yakubu, it's definitely talking about illicit financial flows and money laundering. I think it's a war that we can't give up on if we want to prosper as a country. That is the only way to go forward. We must thank you so much. Dr. Omar Yakubu is the Executive Director, Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so when we come back after this break, we'll switch gears to talk about what's playing out in Ondo State as far as the local government autonomy and the funds are concerned. Join us again. Welcome back. Let's talk to the controversy around this local government autonomy. For the records and for context, the federal government has taken states to court to demand that the local government get, in the real sense, what autonomy should be like, because according to Section 7 of the Constitution, they should ensure democratically elected officials at that level. That's why you see all of the states of the Federation literally doing local government elections. That's a different kettle of fish, because a couple of these local government elections are seen as sham because of how the outcome is. It's almost literally one of the easiest to predict. But that's not the bone of contention. The federal government has said, if you do not have elected officials at that level, you're not going to get money. Well, that has been a turn in the wheels, some kind of, because a lot has not been implemented because of reconciliation. The elections have to be done and all of that. But the local government levels, civil society is now asking questions that when monies get into JAG, does it really get to the local government as it should get to? And the focus for today is Ondo State. Well, we made efforts to reach out to the Ondo State government to also hear their side, because we wanted to make it a two-side conversation for balance, but it's been difficult trying to get the government. They agreed to come, but for some, perhaps technical reasons. So we have joining us right here the Secretary of the Ondo Redemption Front, who are at the forefront of making sure accountability is held on, Mr. Adedotun Ajulo. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, Ade, good morning.
I gave a broad picture of how we got here. Supreme Court decision, because the federal government took the states to court, and then eventually we see all these local government elections happening. But implementation has not been done. But Ondo's case looks a bit unique. Why is that?
I wouldn't say Ondo State case looks unique. You must come to agree with us that Ondo State is always at the front lead of agitation for good governance. We have it on record as far as this country is concerned. Let me put it that way, without sentiment. However, as a group, Ondo Redemption Front is a group that promotes governance as far as Ondo State is concerned.
You're a civil society organization?
Very well, very, very well.
You're not affiliated to any political party?
No.
Are you sponsored by the opposition?
By the opposition.
In Ondo State?
Well, I'm not even aware of any opposition in Ondo State. I think we are the opposition. The Ondo Redemption Front is the opposition itself in Ondo State. So, and let me give a bit of a background to ORF. The first beneficiary of Ondo Redemption Front is the current governor of Ondo State. The first beneficiary of our activities, our activism, is the governor of Ondo State.
That's Lucky Aiyedatiwa.
If you go back to history, in transmitting power to him when the immediate past governor, our late Governor Akeredolu, and we are the front. The record is there from even from your station, we are at the forefront to preserve the rule of law in Ondo State, because it all started by way of an attempt to have him impeached as a deputy governor in order to perpetrate whatever political machination they wanted to do. So we're at the forefront of that activism, protest to insist that no, you can't just be talking about impeachment when the political template of the state is not even stable. And we took it a step further by even going to court to get a mandatory, an order of mandamus in Ondo State High Court, compelling the State Executive Council to set up medical committee to let us know what was happening to our ailing governor then. It was the night after the order of court was granted in the case that we filed, that the current governor Idatiwa was brought in and to act substantively as governor of Ondo State. So he's the first beneficiary. Or we are just, and we made it known to him, as I didn't know him, I didn't have any relationship. Majority of our members, we don't have any one-on-one with him. But we made it known to him, we made it known to Ondo people, as at that time that, well, what we want to assure you is that going forward, Ayedatiwa or beyond Ayedatiwa, we will always be at the forefront to call for core governance. That we have been doing. And basically what we are doing around the current government is to just simply ask for accountability. What is governance without accountability? So what we'll be doing is to ask for, and more importantly, in the areas of local government, looking at the July 11, 2024 election, judgment of the Supreme Court. And I can tell you, as at yesterday, you can see that the outcry is going everywhere around the nation. I was reading Adewale of Tribune, a columnist, as of yesterday, whereby he was alleging that a local government chairman, just a day before exiting office, withdrew 492 million naira, I think allegedly in Lagos. So calling on CSO to come up, and you see, either you like it or not, local government is the closest form of government to the people. If you want to have the fastest way to have an impact of governance around the people is the local government. So it's true laudable for us that indeed the federal government could come up with that case, and the Supreme Court in good spirit gave its judgment for that full and core autonomy. What is not the case with Ondo State?
Okay,
yes?
so, and at the center of this case in yes. Ondo is the suspension of the local government chairman in Owo, who was suspended by councillors, for which, you know, some officials of the state government have distanced themselves from that suspension. Tell us exactly what is happening. What's the update on this particular story? Is it true that he was suspended because he leaked a WhatsApp message that suggested that the state government was only making 5 million naira available to local governments for running costs, as against what they should have been earning? Prior
to our petition to EFCC and ICPC about this local government, we have it on record, either as a rumor or as truth, that local government in Ondo State were getting between 4 million to 5 million naira monthly.
Instead of how much?
Well, as at September, August, what was released from FAC account to, there is no local government in Ondo State that got less than 400 million naira. That's what ought to get to a single. Some local government in Ondo State got as much as 700 million naira every month.
Sorry, there's a difference between getting and what is due.
Allocated.
What is due them to be allocated?
What was allocated from the federation account? The record is there on Board IT and the rest of it.
But they didn't actually get it.
The list that was in any local government of Ondo State was over 400 million naira.
But did they actually get it?
As it is, what we have available in the public space is that local government in Ondo State get between just 4 million to 5 billion naira. Let me now.
Because I would like you to break it down. You know, this is a conversation.
Oh, yes.
So because I wish the commissioner was there so that he can do the responses. But since he couldn't, I hope he can catch up somehow. So I understand how it works. From federal allocation,
yes,
it goes to Jack, and then they may collect administrative fee, whatever,
yes,
and then money goes to the local government. Yes. So let's say 300 million. Let's even take a lower bench, or take your number. 400 million is allocated to local government.
List.
Yes, local government A
yes,
in Ondo.
Yes.
You are putting it on record that what gets to them is less than 10 million.
What gets to them? I didn't say 10 million. What we have as it is today.
What do you mean by what you have?
What we have is what is in the public space. She had just said it, that a local government, talking about our local government, there was a leaked WhatsApp chat that said, hey, I'm getting just 5 million naira every month.
But has the Ondo Redemption Front engaged with local government or even with this suspended or local government chairman to confirm that this story is true or not?
What we've done, because let me tell you the way it works in this politics, only God knows the kind of covenant most of these people go to with whoever is the governor and the rest of it. The way it works is what we've just done. By calling EFCC and ICPC, invite the local government chairman, let us have an audit of the accounts. Okay. And let me give you another snippet. When we wrote, and this team made it to the media, when we petitioned EFCC and ICPC, do you know what came up? The only defense we've had from the state government thus far was what was said by the local, the Commissioner for Local Government Affairs in Ondo State, saying it is the agreed position of all local government chairmen in Ondo State that the fund being allocated should be saved for capital projects. Should be saved for capital projects.
You have a letter to that effect?
It was on Vanguard. It is on Vanguard.
A consensus of all local government chairmen.
There is a collective decision of all local government chairmen to have their money be contributed, that so far they've saved about 50 billion naira for capital projects. Where is the communique? How did we arrive at that?
Capital project to be executed by who?
By who? No, so these are the questions. So we will not waste our time by going to engage we've called the relevant agency, and in spontaneous reaction, I'm happy. The attorney generals across the federation, they had their roundtable event with the ICPC for Southwest right in Akure yesterday. And what ICPC was advising them is that they should all, the attorney generals should all uphold the Supreme Court, should try to uphold the Supreme Court judgment of July 11, 2024.
Let's capture two positions now. On the one hand, this is from councillors in our local government who impeached or suspended, as the case may be, this Mr. Omolayo, the chairman. And these are the allegations leveled against him. They say, the allegations include financial impropriety, utter violation of statutory budget and IGR regulations, disrespect to traditional heads, and failure to conduct himself appropriately. These are the allegations leveled against Mr. Omolayo, who was suspended. On the other hand, the state government is also saying there's an obstruction to the implementation of the local government, financial autonomy granted local government by the Supreme Court, which is the Joint Account Allocation Committee, which is itself a creation of the Constitution and therefore an impediment to the implementation of that ruling. What are your responses to this position of the state government?
The Supreme Court was very, very explicit. Section 162, I think sub 4 of the Constitution created JAC. But going further, reading further, when you read section 9 of that same, you see, JAC is JAC. That's the provision of JAC, talking about Joint Account Allocation Committee. The provision does not in any way inhibit the autonomy of local government when it comes to their funding. It is only when we want to play politics and when these people are trying to hide under, it does not in any way. What that provision only does, Joint Account Allocation Committee, what are they allocating? From the federal government, from FAC, it is stated therein. For Akure South, you are having 510 million naira for this month. For Idore, local government, you are having 450 million naira for this month. So the JAC provision under the Constitution does not in any way give credence to. It's just a matter of nomenclature. What makes up JAC? The committee. What makes up the committee? You are talking about the Accountant General of the state, because in receiving there must be a committee, there must be persons who are indeed signatories to whatever they are getting from federal government. So when you even look at what the JAC is being constituted of, who are the committee member? You are talking about the Accountant General of the state. And in fact, JAC is to protect the state from the federal to ensure that what is actually due, their own is to oversee to ensure that what is actually due for each of the local governments in Ondo State or any other state thereon comes directly to the local government. So anybody telling you about Jack inhibiting, no. The Supreme Court judgment was very, very explicit. And as it is today, at least I know of Lagos State and some few other states. I can tell you that the local, that's why you see this.
So let's get back to what the law. So you're a lawyer, so let's stay with the law.
Yes.
What does the law? How does the law interpret that agreement you talked about? Because this is like micromanaging a tier of government. This is like federal government trying to micromanage states. Now states they micromanage local government, albeit illegally. We know, but you are saying that the response you got was that they all agreed that they will be saving the money for capital projects. Where is that in law?
And that's why I'm saying it does before, even right before the judgment of the Supreme Court, that very novel judgment of the Supreme Court of 2024, that does not have a basis. It doesn't have a place in law. It's like saying...
Who responded to you with that information?
The information, like I've said...
Who communicated that information?
We read it in the Vanguard, talking about the commissioner, the state commissioner for local government and chieftaincy affairs. It's there in the Vanguard. I can make it available thereafter for you to go and see through.
So have you engaged with the Ondo State government in your decision to invite the EFCC and ICPC to investigate what's happening?
Oh, for us to go and take permission from them?
Is there any form of engagement as you demand accountability?
Yes, we've been on this. Every month we do have our state of state address. And before we get to this point, before we get to this level, we've been on this, trying to have conversation with the state government, persons in the government to say what is going on. Yes, the issue of Owo is that should point to one direction. But as a lawyer, you must always give the benefit of the doubt. That's why I don't get myself bothered to look at what is just happening in Owo. I will pick up that information. I didn't go further to say, okay, or we didn't go further as a group to say, okay, we want to hear from our local government. No. We are going to make it very plain. ICPC should come in. Let's have a audit of inflows and outflows as far as money from FAC is concerned coming to local government. That we explain, we give an unbiased, position.
The first thing to find out is to see whether that 15 billion is really saved, right?
You know, that 50 billion to start with, save for what? Money meant for local government. What is that capital project? Where is the communique? Who are those that sat down to agree that? Because in law, that doesn't have a place.
But in the case of Owo, you alluded to the possibility that some of these local government chairmen may have entered into some form of agreement. But is that the case for all local government? Have you tried to engage other local government chairpersons to find out what exactly is happening and whether they're open to joining you in this demand for accountability?
Let me now tell you, we make personal call. I was not going to say this, but you're able to bring this out of me, and I'm going to say it. Before getting to the point of, we actually made calls to certain, because we are talking about Ondo State that belongs to all of us. We are talking about our friends. We are talking about our brothers who are either local government chairman, one appointment or the other with the government. And we simply ask, my brother, how much are you getting monthly allocation? We have on board IT. We spoke to about 3 of them. None of them, not even single one, was ready to disclose what it is.
We're totally out of time. So this is I want to look at my camera now. Now, Mr. Edowu Ajanaku, the Commissioner of Information on Ondo State, you were supposed to join us, but apparently technical issues. So it's important. The Ondo State government, led by the Governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa, these are big allegations against your government. The best thing to do is to say your own side of the story, because it's only fair. We are all sides. We made an attempt, and the commissioner was meant to join. We just wanted to put that on record. So we'd like to hear from the state government their own side of the story, because these are very, very serious issues as far as public finance and public money is concerned. But I must thank you, Mr. Adedotun Ajulo, Chairman, the Ondo Redemption Fund.
Secretary.
And commendation to all the work you're doing. I like when people hold government to account. Government doesn't like to be held accountable. Even if you're in government, sometimes you won't like it. But that's what democracy demands. We are holding them, and that's why we're inviting them to say, come on and tell us your own side of the story. Thank you. Appreciate you for coming on the program.
Always available.
And that's it on the program. I want to thank you for your time and, of course, your usual company. He's ending the show with us, so don't worry. Sunrise Daily is up next at the top of the hour. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
The week is just unfolding, so join us again as we continue. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.